For sure, I'm hanging up right now.
Hey, you're listening to episode 206. 206. That's a 2. Followed by a 0 by a 6. Of PHP Ugly. Your absolute best location for all the wonderful stuff. All about PHP. And I just heard myself in my earphones and it really threw me off. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson. And with me this afternoon,
I still hear it in my ears.
is John Congdon.
Where's it at?
And my other professional with me, Thomas Rideout.
That's right, professional vacationer.
Professional vacationer. Have you even touched a line of code since we last spoke?
Not till you messaged me earlier today.
Try to help me set things. I did appreciate your kind of lackadaisical effort, but an effort nonetheless.
It wasn't lackadaisical. It was just not focused.
I was like, yeah, man. I don't know. Rebuild your system.
Well, no, I was saying rebuild the Vagrant box.
Oh, is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
I misunderstood what you were saying.
The Vagrant box, when you do the
he missed Vagrant. He just said rebuild the box, and you thought the whole system.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
what did I miss? What did you need help with?
Oh, working on a client project. They use Vagrant. I knew Thomas had a lot of experience with Vagrant, so I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm having this issue with Vagrant. Do you know anything about it?" And he was clearly not interested.
A couple hours later, I responded.
Was this on an existing system or something new that you're trying to get it working on?
It just happens to be a new system, John. I am speaking to you live from my System 76 Delio system, and I'm warming up to it. It was a little bit of a rough start. I'll have to be completely honest with you.
Really?
I had really set my expectations way too high. I had heard so many good things about Pop OS and about the fact that System 76 builds their systems for the OS that it's running on. So I had very high expectations of slapping down, putting it in, running, and off to the races go. And that just was not the case. It was nothing an experienced Linux user couldn't overcome. But it was jarring to me, a couple of issues that I was having. That there was one issue that I even reached out to System 76 support, and to their credit, within 12 hours, I had gotten a response. We'd gone back and forth a couple times and have resolved it. But it is not like I couldn't have bought this for my mother and trusted that she could have plugged it in and just been off and running. She might have. I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of things. I've got multiple monitors. I have, a very advanced setup. So I'm used to some challenges. It's just, I might have set my expectations a little too high. And even still, like now, it feels really good to be back on a Linux desktop. I gotta be honest. Now that I'm getting back into my groove and I'm getting my tool chain reestablished, it's really feeling good.
Yeah,
but
I know that feeling. It is nice.
Yeah. But I think I had the same expectation because I was thinking about upgrading or changing systems just like you did. Again, based on having those expectations. So I'm glad you're saying that, bringing my expectations down, so if I ever do make that switch, I'm not as jarred by it.
Bring them way down.
So what did you reach out to System 76 for?
Well, and you have experience with a Linux desktop as well, right? You were. So it's funny how much hadn't changed. There are still applications that are janky. The feel of it is janky. but they work kind of. But like Skype, for example, I'm not using the Skype Flatpak or the Skype application. I'm using Skype through the web interface because the application doesn't support audio and video for some reason. I couldn't tell you why, but the web does. The biggest issues, so I can tell you the big issue that almost had me send this back was, and I kept the box. I mean, I was ready to put this thing back in the box and say, okay, this is not working. So initially I have a 3-monitor setup, and I bought my Thelio with a GPU in it. So I get it in, pop. I pop in my 3 displays. It uses the same connections that we were using with the other GPU, so no problems there. And everything about the displays were wrong. I mean, it couldn't keep an orient. I have one of my monitors. What is this? Up and down, not landscape, but horizontal.
Portrait.
Vertical. Yeah, portrait. So I have one portrait that it just couldn't keep that straight. It kept flipping it, and the monitor situation was getting out of hand. It's so bad that I actually disconnected one monitor and hooked it up to my Mac, it's actually still, so this monitor to my left is still connected to my Mac. So even with the 2 monitors, and one of the monitors is still in portrait, that's connected to the System 76 machine. Every time I did a reboot, it would lose the resolution, it would lose the orientation, and I'm like, I can't work like this. I can't. Every time I reboot my machine, or even if I woke it up out of sleep, I would have this problem. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't work like this. And so I reached out to them, and it was as simple as there was a checkbox that looks like it should be checked. It's called enable HDMI something, advanced something. I forget what it was exactly. And the guy's just like, hey, yeah, uncheck that and see what happens. So I unchecked that, and that fixed the display issue. That was a big thing. The other big thing that I was having was the sound card in the machine wasn't working. Flat out, just didn't work. The monitors John and I have sound cards in them, so I was actually using that. That wasn't going to be a make or break thing, but as much as I had paid for the system and the fact that I was already opening a support ticket, I thought I would mention it. That required a little work, and that would have been like one of those things like my mom wouldn't have been able to do. I had to reinstall the whole audio stack. That was, I mean, it's just a big apt-get command, but you have to understand what you're doing to do that. I did that, and that got resolved. There were actually 3 issues I took up with them, and the third one was obviously small enough that I can't even think about what it was right now. So, but I'm warming back up to it. So it has really high resolution, and at that really high resolution, the fonts and everything about it are so crisp. I would say that a side-by-side comparison, and I have that, the System 76 looks so much nicer than the Mac. However, the Mac, that resolution is too small for my aging eyes. I can't handle that. So I just kicked it up to the next resolution to make everything a little bigger. And there's like, what I have on my Mac is a little smaller and a little tighter than what I have on my System 76 machine. And the Mac at that resolution looks so much better. Like I lost so much clarity with just that one little, bump down in resolution. And things just don't look as crisp as they do on the Mac. And that's just a reality of it.
Interesting.
But yeah, I've been reinstalling my tool chains, finding apps. There's so many new things on the Linux desktop now. With uh, you're probably familiar, like I am, John, of doing doing packaging stuff. If you were I think you were a Red Hat guy, right?
I was Red Hat from 94 to about 2004 before I switched to Mac.
So that was you used RPM install or something,
Yep.
right? That was like the package manager.
Yep.
In Ubuntu world, you use the apt-get, which is like the Debian package manager. But now they have things like Flatpaks, they have snaps.
Yeah. I
And
hate
they're
the
these.
Flatpak stuff.
Why do you hate them?
I have not gotten it to work well for me. It doesn't install into like what I would consider a normal directory structure for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's true. Yeah.
and it executes as like a package. So every time you execute it, you have to say Flatpak and then the application.
Ah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have that experience on this machine. It it adds itself like a regular app. Well, maybe if you're launching it from the command line, I would. But
That's where
everything,
the command line is
yeah,
where I
for
deal with
me,
it.
it's just it pops up like a regular application. I have an app like Spotlight on here that I had a key combination. I type in what I'm looking for, and it just goes. So I haven't had that, and it's interesting. But to what you were saying, Thomas, Flatpaks have been like a real hit and miss for me. It seems like they're pushing towards Flatpaks. Like I use Authy with a lot of my two factors,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that you install through apt-get even pops up, says, "Hey, we're not supporting this anymore. Go install the Flatpak." And everybody's kind of moving to Flatpak. And I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I think snaps and Flatpaks are very similar in structure. They're both kind of like all inclusive, including all the dependencies in the
Right.
package. So it's like a true app.
They're kind of
It's
like
not
Java.
depending. Right. It's not. You're not dependent on having other packages installed in your system for it to work.
And you can have
So
conflicting packages running as well.
right, right. So it's only been like a day and a half I've been on my machine, but I'm already podcasting with it. I mean, but I say that, and like I said, my Skype through the browser keeps freezing the video. So I don't know how good that
Well,
is. And
we'll
we'll see.
we'll get on that another day because I have fixes for all that stuff too. Since I've been using Ubuntu for 4 years now as my primary workstation.
Are you
And that's
using Synergy currently? Are you using the same keyboard and mouse between your Linux
It's a
machine
fork
and your?
of Synergy called Barrier.
I'm asking Eric if he's using it.
Oh, Eric.
I
wasn't even
I'm
thinking
using
about him.
Synergy. Yes, I'm using Synergy, John. Yeah.
There you go.
And Thomas, you touched on something that I missed so much. It's a weird thing, I guess, to miss. Really, is there's so many ways to fix a problem on a Linux machine.
Yes.
It's just crazy.
Yes.
It's like I on a Mac, it either works or doesn't work. If it doesn't work, like I remember, I had a well. I mean, even as recently, I had a bear of time getting Python 3 working correctly on my Mac. But with Linux, it just seems like there's all right. Well, let's try this. Let's tweak this. Let's do this, which is a weird thing to like enjoy about your system, but it's kind of fun. I like it.
Now, I'm going to tell you what the future of these kinds of systems is, though. It's all Docker.
Oh, for sure.
I have.
So that's one of the things I that's one of my initiatives with this. So I do have the PHP command line installed, because that I need to do. I want to be able to do like Composer and stuff, but I don't have MySQL. I don't have any of my web toolkit on the host system. I
Why do you want to
installed
do Composer
Devilbox.
locally?
Well, when I do things like when I new up a Laravel application, it runs Composer but automatically.
Oh, yeah. I guess I've never installed Laravel that
There are
way.
a couple FAR
Yeah.
files that I run native to my machine, like Composer or PHPMD or even PHP Unit. I'll run locally.
Yeah.
See, I don't, only because each application theoretically could have different requirements, different extensions installed, different versions. So I would do all of those things via the Docker container it's running in. But having a FAR file like the Laravel installer is completely different. So that makes
Mhm.
Well,
sense.
my Pi system that I use for all of my media management and perfectly legal TV and movie downloads, it's it's just the Linux kernel running Kodi, and Kodi is a media setter thing for your TV. So it knows how to write to the video card, and it's in this mode. It's really nice and fast, but you can't install any other third-party applications since Linux is barely there. But you can install Docker containers. So I have Kodi running as the host system, and then I have Docker containers for all of my third-party apps that manage all my media. And it works flawlessly. It's a very nice setup.
It's fascinating that if it's that minimal of an install, that they even have the Docker tools available.
I'm not sure what's required for Docker to really work outside of just the kernel.
Hmm.
So
I know on Mac you need to have a whole system. You need to download an application to run. Uh, I don't know what happens on Linux.
Yeah, you need to have a Docker service running. So yeah, that is there. Mhm. But yeah, it's going. I'm liking it. I mean, it's still pretty early in my use of it, but it's there. And oh, that was the other thing. I just remembered what the third thing was. Again, not a huge issue, um, but it's something that like somebody being introduced to Linux wouldn't know. Is I got um, an additional drive to store things on. So my operating system drive is a terabyte, and it's like the high end, high performance drive. Then I got a second drive, which was 2 terabytes, but it was the lower end, but it's a lower end SSD, and it's there. Anyways, the again, when I rebooted the machine or rebooted the machine, it wasn't mounting that drive um, on reboot, even though the graphic user interface told you it was. Uh, and that again was a pretty simple fix. Once I realized what I needed to do to fix it, but I will say, so I ran into another problem today. Oh, I ran into a problem with PHP Storm today. So this is a weird thing. Um, so like I said, these are 2 physical drives, and this is something, John, I would advise you against not doing when if you were to order a system. Is don't go with the 2 drive system because it hasn't helped me yet. Pay a little extra and just get the bigger drive for your OS drive. Not that a terabyte isn't a big drive, anyways.
Hmm.
But I was putting my repos on the second drive. Now, by this time, I have that drive mounting during boot. It mounts automatically now, no problem. Like great. So I have all my repos there. I pull them all down. I mentioned Devil Box is what I'm using for Docker. I put all my Docker stuff on the second drive. I configure Devil where my repo directory is, so it'll automatically add all my sites and blah blah blah. All that's working great. I'm like, hey, this is fantastic. I fire up PHP Storm for the first time, and that alone was a little jarring because I have a plugin for PHP Storm that does a sync with my JetBrains account, and I couldn't figure out how to sync my stuff back down into my Linux machine. But once I got that configured and once I got that set up, it was working without an issue. The PHP Storm pulled in all my configurations, all my Vim stuff, all my it didn't pull in my remaps of keys. That's the one thing a second, because that's going to make sense. But for whatever reason, and this isn't a System 76 issue, this is not a Linux issue per se, but for whatever reason, PHP Storm couldn't find that other mount point. So all my repos are on my second drive, on a mount point, which is just another disk drive. I mean, it looks no different to your system. It's just like putting a D drive into your Windows machine. But for whatever reason, PHP Storm would not look there. I could not get it to, even if I manually put the path in, it would not accept that path as the location of the project I wanted to work on. So then I had to move everything. Again, there's probably a fix for this. This happened today when I'm trying to get client work done. I'm like, I don't have time to fuck with this. And I just moved it, into my home directory. But it was just the weirdest thing. And I know, I mean, all those JetBrains IDEs are all Java based.
Right.
And for the record, Vim had no issue at all. Vim saw it. I could have stayed in Vim and worked without a problem.
Just say that.
Well, the funny thing is, the reason I didn't do that is Vim is still one of the things I'm getting dialed in. So I had moved to NeoVim, and I have some specialized plugins. One's called Command and Conquer, which is the new grooviness as far as all, completing code and all that IDE-ish sort of behavior where it jumps to definitions and things like that. And I don't have that configured correctly at all. Like, I have to go through my Vim configuration, probably start from scratch with that one plugin, because it's just chirping at me on all different levels of how unhappy it is with that plugin right now. So I was actually having a problem with that on my Mac. I'd reached out to a friend of mine, because I tell you what, that Command and Conquer, everything I'm seeing, man, it's like, oh my God. When I start coding in Vim again, and I don't use it all the time with PHP. Like, if I'm working on a project for a client, I'll usually set up the IDE. I'll take the time, set up the IDE and all that. But when I'm doing quick things and I pull it up in Vim, it's so nice. So nice. I'm really trying to buy time here until there he is. John gets back.
By time, I have my own opinions on things.
Sorry about that.
Because there's a couple things I do. Well, there's one thing I don't think, because the thing I want to talk about, I don't think you're going to appreciate, Tom.
That's usually the case, yes.
So there, I'm loving the Vim, right? Doing the Vim, loving the System 76 desktop, because just about everything has a key binding, which is fucking with me a little bit, because like certain key bindings that I'm used to in my Mac or in my Vim actually have a key binding on the system now. So I'm working through those a little bit. But the one thing that is really messing with me, and John, this is a tough one. And Thomas, I don't know how to explain it to you, but the simple mapping of copy, control, paste, and undo on a Mac is the Mac key and the ZXCV, which when I moved to Mac felt really weird. Now I'm on the Kinesis keyboard now, so this is a bad example.
Because the Mac key is
but on
in
a
the
normal
middle between Control and Alt, right?
It's the Windows key on a Windows machine.
It's right next to the space bar, though. Isn't that where it is on the where's the Windows key? Is it next to the space bar? Okay, well, the Mac keys by the spacebar, and if you look
That is
at it,
incorrect. I mean,
no,
no, I
it's
mean,
not.
technically,
That's what I thought.
that is true, but that's
That's
not the way you should do it.
that's what. No, I disagree because that's what I thought when I moved from Linux to Mac. I'm like, this is completely wrong. But if you do it, you put your thumb on it, and you see how easy it is compared to Control, which you have to actually fold under your hand to get to
No, I
do
just use my pinky.
Control copy paste.
I just move my hand one row down and pinky.
Anyways, that's getting hard
What
to
if
get.
you have to do
It's very
Apple V? Then you're like you're
Apple V. It's right
then
there.
You're twisting your hand into a.
You're not. It's It's literally right there. You're just tapping it. So that's becoming a challenge.
Easy. Yeah. The command or Apple key next to the spacebar for that whole bottom row is super easy.
By the way, if you ever want to mystify,
100%.
Your parents when you're working on a computer, just use copy and paste. No matter how educated they are on computers.
My wife does it. My wife drives me crazy when I watch her on a computer. She still goes up. She highlights, goes up to edit, down to copy, goes to where she wants, back up to edit, down to paste. I'm like, she knows. I mean, I've talked to her for years about this.
It seems like it should be a pretty layman level, user function, but for some reason, if I copy something off of a web page and then hit Control L to go to the location bar on the browser, and then paste, and then hit enter, and a different web page shows up, my parents' minds are blown. They look, you didn't even touch the mouse once. It's like, yeah, because I only did one thing.
Think how proud they would be of you if you learned Vim.
Think I was
you
a
would
wizard.
you could just do exactly. You would be a god to them.
Although, I mean, to be fair, I've left my IDE open for when I know I'm gonna have visitors at the house and go, oh yeah, that's my workstation. I'm a programmer. Just having all the colors on there, they just go, wow, I can't read any of that. Like, yeah, it's.
It was funny when John and I used to work remote and we'd go to coffee shops and stuff. You would catch people like looking over our shoulder, and this was when both John and I were heavy into them. I don't even think Storm was on our radar yet, and we'd just be pop in Vim, and you'd catch people looking over the shoulder. Oh, they're hacking the Wi-Fi. Get off the Wi-Fi. Turn off your phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that control copy, that control key is just messing with me on so many levels.
You've convinced me not to change.
I don't, like I said, give it some time. I don't know.
So
I'm not,
I know you guys.
I'm not going back anytime soon.
I know you guys don't like to do news on this podcast because we're not a news podcast. But I have to throw a news article out there that I read that might be important to you if you didn't catch it, because I only caught this from Hackaday. I did not see this anywhere else. GitHub is going to stop allowing passwords.
Okay.
The GitHub API and CLI stuff.
It would be a first.
Well, the GitHub API and CLI are going to start doing these sort of brownout things where they say, hey, you're using a password and you can't do that anymore. So now is the time to get your SSH keys and everything into there, because that's all it's going to be, I think, close to the end of this month.
Okay, so I'm not effective. Good to know.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that at all.
Some people might be caught off guard by that.
It is interesting that they haven't given it more of a runway for people to know about it, but
it's so easy to add your SSH key.
If you're
I love
accustomed to SSH, but I can tell you there's a lot of Windows users out there that are not.
Yeah. Well, even when I was a Windows user, I was still using PuTTY SSH a ton and had keys. I love the fact that I can go to somebody's GitHub account and get their public SSH key.
Right? That needs to be factored into GPG, and we need to get emails going again, and let that be how people get public keys for people they want to email stuff to.
Speaking of which, are you guys still using Hey?
No.
I saw.
Oh yeah.
I saw Matthias Grenier, who runs the Cron weekly newsletter, was sponsored by Hey this week, and I thought to myself, I haven't heard that in a month. I wonder if it still exists.
You want to hear something funny? I tried logging into it, and it won't let me log in anymore. It says, "Hey, you can't log in until you validate your backup email," which is my DiegoDev email. I'm like, okay, send me a validation. Well, we can't send you a validation until you log in. What? I can't log in until I'm validated, but I can't validate until I log in. I immediately just shut it off. I just didn't care. But yeah, no, I'm not using. Hey was a quick nay. Didn't do it for me, man. It just didn't do it for me.
Works about as well as Backpack always did.
I don't understand. Yeah, and it's really much that mentality of we have a certain way of doing things, and this is how we're doing it. And if you want to be a part of it, here's the product you can pay for to use it. But we don't care what you think about it. That might be a little rougher than it needs to be.
I don't know. I think that's pretty accurate. It's
I told you the story of Basecamp when we were starting DiegoDev, and we looked at using Basecamp, and there was all this talk about Basecamp 3 coming out, and I said, if we went to Basecamp 2, and then in 3 months you come out with Basecamp 3, what's that migration look like? They're like, oh yeah, no, there's not going to be a migration. You just keep using Basecamp 2. I'm like, all right, well, what if I want to move to my, Basecamp 3?
Why would you want
to
do
then
that?
You'll just have to redo it. It was very much then you just have to redo everything in Basecamp 3. I'm like, yeah, that's all right. Thanks. I can't even worry about that right now. So yeah, that was that. And all their product, and I guess you can't fault them for it. I know they do well, and they're doing better than we are. So I guess I can't complain. I shouldn't complain about it, but it's not my cup of tea. Not a fan.
Well, so I want to go back.
Right.
I want to go back to.
I got something exciting to show you though. Check it out. Look, you see that? Wonk 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 wonk. That would be a good time to get to the thank our Patreons.
I saw that come through. I saw that come through on our accounting system.
So for people listening to the audio podcast, did you?
Yeah.
Were you surprised with how much it cost?
I was actually surprised with how little it was, considering what you were preparing me for.
I'm showing a receipt, a top of receipt from the post office. All of our Patreons who were in a rewards tier should be getting their packages mailed to them, including the OG Patreon, Buttery Crumpets. Buttery. I don't know if it's going to get to you, man. It's a very far distance, but it's en route. It is first class U.S. Postal Service. So, thank you.
Outside of the U.S., there's no such thing as first class. It's like whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
You guys hear the news that all voting related mail is now first class by default?
No, I didn't hear that.
Big court ruling today.
Well, make sure you vote twice, though. Vote once by mail and once in person.
No, it's illegal.
And then let's not go down that road. Don't vote twice.
It's
vote
so
once.
hard to avoid. However, speaking of not necessarily politics,
so I got a question for you guys. Well, this is kind of politics.
Then we're gonna stay on that, yeah.
This is kind of politics. This is kind of in the same realm. did TikTok get bought or not? I saw articles that said Oracle won and purchased them, and then I saw other articles that said China said no, get bent. You're not buying TikTok. What happened there? Does anybody know?
I don't know the latest. I did put this topic on my Trello board, and I did see that they said no to Microsoft, but that Oracle was interested and TikTok wanted to sell to Oracle because they were more of an international company than Microsoft, which I don't agree with.
Really? Okay.
They TikTok thought it would be more appetizing to the Chinese government if Oracle owned them.
Which I don't understand what Oracle wants with TikTok. That's bizarre.
Money, I assume.
But they're not in an even remotely related industry.
Well, how is Microsoft remotely in a related industry?
Microsoft has the search engine. They have Bing. They have a bunch of social platforms for the Xbox stuff.
Is Bing still a thing?
Bing is still a thing. Best way to search for porn, so I hear.
Today I learned.
And Microsoft has its hands in all sorts of user-produced content technology, whereas Oracle is like databases, right?
As far as we know, they may have tons of. I mean, they're a multinational company, so we know them as Oracle the database, MySQL. But I'm sure they have other things that we just aren't aware of.
Well, from what I'm reading, Oracle and ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, have a current proposed deal, but they don't have anything solidly agreed on. And these kinds of corporate sales actually require approval from the U.S. government as well as the Chinese government.
But can we still? I am so pissed right now at the U.S. and the U.S. government. I was one of those kids that had a flag up in my room. I would get up in the morning and say the Pledge of Allegiance in my room before school. I was like way into this, and now I'm like, fuck the pledge. I don't care about it. I'm so annoyed that the government is like trying to dictate that another company has to be bought by a U.S. company, otherwise they're going to be banned.
Well, hopefully.
Oh, and they want a kickback of it
hopefully
too.
Next time we have the big government party in charge, they'll loosen the bizarrely small government regulations that are being imposed.
I'm so frustrated about it.
It's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, TikTok's not going anywhere. They have a deadline for November 12th.
So they're not officially purchased by anybody right now?
Right. And
gotcha.
We're not,
but they don't have much time left.
But we're not even clear
before they're supposed to ban.
We're not even clear on what banning TikTok would mean, because
they could probably force Apple because Apple's such a closed ecosystem,
yes.
But they couldn't do it with Android.
Well, interestingly enough, they could force Apple to remove it from devices it's installed on already, which would really piss off Apple customers. But they probably couldn't do that to Android.
Well, in either way, it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see Apple's response. I mean, would they buckle to the U.S. government when they made such a big deal out of the fact that they weren't going to unlock an iPhone because they believed in their customers' privacy? Will they buckle to the government on this platform and just say, okay, the government told us you can't do this?
There's all sorts of backroom deals.
They'll
tell them that if they buckle on this, if they do this, then they'll approve the next merger, the next big thing Apple wants to do. It's all a freaking scam.
There was a story this week about Apple unlocking an iPhone for the NSA that had previously been buried. They said, no, we don't unlock iPhones for the NSA. We'll never do it. But it turns out that there actually was an instance where they did.
Yep. I don't know, man. I'm a Linux guy now. I don't care. They're the man. Apple and Microsoft. They're the man. Penguin power forever. At least until something else crashes. We'll see what happens. See how long this lasts.
See how long everything burns to the ground eventually.
That's what I was saying in 2004, and then I made the switch.
Well, so
things happen.
One of the big announcements this year was that Apple was moving away from Intel to ARM processors, or back to ARM processors.
Well, their own processor, right? This is one they're manufacturing.
Well, it's kind of what they did with the PowerPC, isn't it?
Yes.
Wasn't that theirs?
Well, yeah. Well, the PowerPC, I believe, was their architecture. Then they went to they moved to Intel.
But their architecture was still produced in factories owned by RISC, I believe, at that time. And their newest architecture is supposedly the ARM architecture on their own custom chips. But
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's just
NVIDIA just bought the ARM company, ARM Limited, for $40 billion.
How does anything have $40 billion? I don't understand that.
Well, all your phones are ARM chips.
But $40 billion, why would you buy anything for? If you have $40 billion, just live with $40 billion. Like, you can run your company
it's not one guy.
on $40 billion. No, I'm saying even if you're an entity, even if you're a company that has $40 billion, just keep that. It's like, really, I don't know, man. That is just so much money.
I read a fiscal breakdown of this, and it's a stock trade, so it's very little in cash. And ARM, the current stockholders of ARM are getting NVIDIA stocks, which are expected to jump up once the acquisition is completed and then level back out again. But NVIDIA is not actually paying $40 billion. They're paying stock that they were already holding. So it's an interesting deal fiscally. If you want to look at strategery, you can read all about the financial elements behind it. But as far as technically, this is NVIDIA's attempt to get into the AI development business, as they want to start creating AI-specific chips. And they believe that the next generation of computing is the AI age. And that's terrifying. Oh, I don't have the Doom and Gloom card up. Oh, well.
Fun stuff.
I thought you guys would have more to say about that.
No, I don't have anything about the acquisition. I didn't know about that. The videos I've been watching lately are showing that while Apple was touting some 40% boost in performance, when you listen to the wording of their keynote, it's more like really a 20% increase.
Yeah.
But still, it's still an increase, even running old applications.
Didn't they have a keynote this week?
Yeah, it was mostly about the Apple Watch and some iPad stuff.
I heard that they were doing it, but I didn't hear that anything that had come out of it. Is it just completely not interesting?
Mostly not interesting. So the iWatch, or whatever they call it, the Apple Watch 6 is coming out, and it looks like it has some really cool features, to the point where I was looking at it like, as an Android user, could I use an Apple Watch? Because the Google Watch OS sucks. I mean, I've had 3 or 4 different Watch OS watches, and I haven't been happy with any of them. So I'm kind of hoping that, in Google's next big release, maybe they have something, but I'm not holding my breath because it just hasn't been good. And I hear such great things about the Apple Watch.
Yeah, I have a couple friends who have the Apple Watch, and they live by it. I mean, it's they're referencing it more than they're referencing their phone.
Right, but they also have an iPhone, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's like, and I have the Mac computer. I would like the Apple Watch. Do I make the switch to an iPhone? Although I hate the iPhone OS.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't know. There was that, and then some new specs on some iPad stuff coming out.
Well, I know iOS 14 is out. It got released to all the major devices yesterday. So if you're programming for Apple stuff, all that changed overnight.
That's interesting because I did get an update to my iPad, and I don't even know what to look at, like what's new in it. But so I got a question for you, John.
Okay.
What is it about the smartwatch that is attractive to you?
About the Apple one specifically? Do you mean?
Okay, yeah, the Apple one, yeah.
So Fitness Plus looks like it's gonna be really cool. As I
Oh, that's right.
try to be more.
I keep forgetting.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Fucking COVID.
Fitness
anyway.
Plus.
So Fitness Plus is a big deal. A lot of the things around it, like the tracking of your walking and stuff. People talk about closing their circles. They're getting their steps in, they're getting this in, they're getting that in. It's got a lot of bells and whistles. Like the new one has an oxygen sensor. Not that I need that, but they just seem to be doing more than what Google WatchOS is doing. And my problem with WatchOS is it's not consistent. I had it working so well for what seemed like a long time, and then all of a sudden my Google Pay wouldn't work, and I'd have to uninstall. I'd have to reset my watch back to factory defaults to make that work.
Well, and this is a typical Google thing, though, is to have a working product that everyone enjoys, and then just sort of go, "Nah, we're going to try a different way now."
But I wasn't enjoying it necessarily. Like that, the paying would work, but then that would stop. But then when I was tracking my runs, I'd go play Ultimate, and I liked tracking how far I ran, how many calories I burned, how fast, how far, all those statistics, and then it just wouldn't work properly. Or I'd start getting in this error, it wouldn't connect with my Google Fit account. But you're a Google WatchOS thing, why? And I don't know if that was because I was trying to use my DiegoDev account, or if, where was the disconnect? What was broken? So it's like, do I just go to an ecosystem where everything just works together? Even if I hate the iPhone itself, things just seem to work. It's frustrating.
I have a watch that's not an Android related product, but it's still, the way it communicates with my phone isn't very smooth.
Yeah.
I don't even care about communicating with the phone. Good.
So that's kind of where I was going to go. I asked that because I was a big Android Wear user as well, and I still am. I still right here. I mean, I'm still always have my watch charged. And like you, John, I started using it pretty heavily. Where if I got an instant message, I wouldn't look at my phone. I'd look at my watch to see what it was. Half the time, I would respond from the watch. The fit tracking was nice. The heart monitor and distance I walked was nice. That's still nice. But what I discovered is that like the tracking on walking stuff, my Android phone does without the watch. So I don't get my heart monitored, but I get my distance. But like as I've gotten older, I've had to start wearing glasses, and I don't wear glasses all the time. And I find that if I'm out and I'm not wearing glasses, I can't use my watch. And I've actually been considering just going back to a normal watch again and not even worrying about it. But I thought like you as well, and I'm not faulting you for it at all because I'm like, well, I already have the Mac at the time. Now I'm a Linux guy. Did I mention that to you? But I had the Mac. I had come to the realization that the Android tablet was not on par with the Apple tablet, and I had invested in the Apple tablet, and I was getting okay with that. And I seriously considered a couple times of just saying, okay, just do the full investment and get the whole family on plan because I know like FaceTiming between the Mac and the iPhones are super just seamless and integrated. I thought very seriously about doing that, and I even mentioned it to you a couple times. I'm like, maybe we try an iPhone for a while, and we both agreed, nah, not really.
Yeah.
But
well, it's hard because I
yeah.
found out my dad has an iPhone, my stepmom has an iPhone, and we do FaceTime with them via the tablet with the kids. So that is another perk.
Well, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I
Yeah.
mean, now obviously I'm moving further away from it myself, but it's funny though because you're thinking about going to a more expensive phone with a more restrictive ecosystem of Apple, so you can spend more money and get the more expensive watches with a more restrictive ecosystem of that. So
Yeah, and that's always been
I
my
mean,
issue is that the prices are outrageous. The prices for the hardware
but
don't match up.
It's hard to argue It's hard to argue.
I
You don't buy it for the hardware. I mean, you don't buy it for the
I
value of the
know.
hardware. You buy it for the integration.
And that's a
it
point
has.
that I don't argue anymore since I've been hanging out with my friend who has everything Apple ecosystem because we'll be hanging out and he'll decide he wants to chase down his dog and play with it, and his watch will pop up and say, "Hey, are you okay? We noticed that you sudden activity. If you're going to have sudden activity, you should stretch first." Or like yeah, like he's like stubbed his
It's time for you to poop before you
no,
do
he's
this.
he's stubbed his toe and fell on his butt once. And his watch said, "Are you okay? Tap here to call 911." And it's like
That seems a
that's
little
the
weird.
kind of stuff.
Well, you got the accelerator, the accelerometer on the watch suddenly
Right, but
falling.
that's the kind of stuff where the
We noticed your heart rate is raising, and there's no other person in the room with you. Are you masturbating
well,
right
there
now?
was
Would you
there
like
was the
porn?
story about the update to the Apple Watch 2 where they added the EKG style functionality, and hundreds of people suddenly got warnings that their heart rate was irregular and that they needed to go to the hospital, and several people claimed that it saved their lives. And like that's the kind of software advancements that Apple is making, along with the fluidity of the ecosystem, that I just sort of envily look at and go, but it's not open platform, so screw that.
I'm on open platform hardware now, Thomas. Even my hardware is open.
I know.
And I'm open. I do not wear pants anymore. I'm completely open.
Well, that's been a while now.
All right, this took a weird turn. I'm John. Oh, I thought we were ending.
Well, I have one more. If we're gonna get close to the end here, I have one more fantastical story that I just can't let slide.
Okay. What is it?
Oh my God! Tell me I didn't just lose it in all of my tabs.
All right. Well, while you're looking for that, I have a serious question for you guys. Was it a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater? Was it a purple monster eating people? Or was it a monster that only ate purple people? And is that why there are no purple people anymore?
It was a flying purple people eater. It was purple, and it ate people.
But where was the comma in the the sentence.
There was no
I'm
comma.
confused. Well, it was a song, and I'm
I mean, as far as you know, it was eating the purple people, and it saved our lives. The purple
Right.
people were destroying the planet.
exactly. The kids have been listening to it lately, and I've been trying to explain the song to them so that they don't like get hurt by this thing. But I can't tell them what kind of monster it was. Like, you're not purple, don't worry about it. Or they eat people, you better run if you see a purple monster.
I mean, I'd go with both.
Flying with one horn and one eye.
Yeah. All right.
I
Did
did
you find
my
your story?
A company
you.
named Nikola.
See how I filled in there?
A company named Nikola was trying to obviously compete with Tesla and their electric
Really?
trucks. Released
The B brand
Yeah.
of Tesla.
a video in 2019 showing this truck swiftly rolling down the highway, making no noise. And they were forced to admit this week that they had, in fact, just rolled it down a hill.
I mean, technically, it's correct. It was moving. It wasn't making a sound. Wasn't using gas.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it was even a little more elaborate than that. They had actually gotten it up to speed by pulling it with other vehicles and then driven the other vehicles out of the camera's view very quickly. But
Whatever. I mean, is this supposed to be surprising, or I mean, do they get like investors
shouldn't
this
it
way?
be?
I don't. You know
Yes.
what companies do to try to make their product look good. I don't even care about anymore. I mean, when they take advantage of people by taking their money for that product, that's an issue. That's why I'm saying, do they get investors based on this, or was this just them saying conceptually this is what a electric truck would look like or sound like or whatever?
Oh no, they absolutely got investors off of this. Nikola is associated with GM, and it looks like
Well, GM just partnered with them. Now that you bring it up, I remember hearing this on the news. They actually, so GM is going to supply them their battery technology,
hydrogen
and
fuel
they're
cells.
they're going to engineer the automobile major partnership. Yeah, I remember hearing that.
$2 billion deal.
Yeah, so that might not be happening anymore. And
Oh, really?
Yeah. GM stocks took a hit from this one. And apparently Nikola is planning on suing the company that revealed that this was entirely a scam.
Suing what? For telling the truth?
That's a thing you can do now, actually. I know it doesn't make sense, but
On that same page that you just shared, I keep seeing this story pop up about PayPal. Have you seen that? And the tardigrade?
oh yes, the PayPal tardigrade issue.
Yeah. So you can't sell. They're trying to sell a Christmas ornament of a tardigrade.
So Archie McPhee is the company, and they're known for bizarre stuff. Yeah,
But tardigrades are
tardigrades
awesome.
are totally awesome.
I want one. I want one of these
I
now.
mean, what is a tardigrade? I don't even know
It's
what that is.
it's a water bear.
It's considered the most extreme creature on Earth. It can live inside volcanoes and inside ice and in outer space, and it is adorable looking and very, very, very small.
You need to watch The Cat in the Hat. Knows a lot about that.
I wouldn't say you need to, but
You
there
should.
is an excellent
Oh,
episode.
it looks like the bug in Ant-Man. That's the bug from Ant-Man, right? That's what that is.
Well,
In
oh, yeah,
Ant-Man,
no,
when they went
that
to
is
the
tardigrade, yes. In Ant-Man, when he goes to the
Yeah,
quantum
right.
realm, he sees a tardigrade.
Just say that. I would understand that. It's the worm from Ant-Man.
Well, I believe
Duh.
the first episode of the remake of Cosmos got into tardigrades quite a bit as well. But yeah, PayPal, if there's a tardigrade in the description or title or anything about the product, PayPal will reject the payment.
Why? What's the reasoning?
It's part of their automated checker something where it's basically like a block list. It's for some reason it gets blocked, but they can't manually remove it or make it okay to sell that.
It is considered a permanent no word. And
so I assume like Nazi paraphernalia is up there with that as well.
No,
probably not.
Not at all. That's good to go.
Throw a swastika on that worm and start selling it.
So PayPal won't officially comment on why it's in their blacklist, but some intrepid researchers have found that the government banned doing business with tardigrade manufacturing, an international weapons dealer. And so
I did not read that.
So PayPal is probably not the only platform that has banned this word in line item receipts and things like that. It just happened that Archie McPhee was the first one that ran into it and actually said, hey, what's the deal? So they renamed the product to Water Bear Ornament, and it's perfectly fine now. But yeah, tardigrade manufacturing ruining all the fun for people who love cute little microscopic organisms.
It's like the Stark industry. They're doing all the big bad guns and stuff. All right. Is that it? Are we done? Did we talk any development? I don't think we talked any development. I rambled about my Linux system.
Yeah, see, I had lots of development talk to get to, but we'll save it for next week. But we should say Happy Constitution Day to all the Americans out there.
Absolutely. Happy Constitution Day.
I know I celebrated. I'm sure everybody else did too.
I've got my flag behind me.
I'm not wearing pants.
That's a freedom.
We all celebrate our own way.
Freedom that's guaranteed, kind of, depending on your location.
You said you get your flag behind you, but the people listening to audio podcasts, they didn't get anything about that joke.
My no step on Sneck flag, which I had to explain to my mother today.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see how long this System 76 Linux experiment lasts. It's getting there. You stepped out when I was talking about some of my challenges with PHP Storm, John, but I definitely don't have everything dialed in yet. But it's getting closer and getting easier. It's understanding that not everything's done the Apple way again and how you have to do things differently. But we'll see how it goes.
Different is not bad, but it can be annoying.
Can definitely be annoying. And I can tell you right now, some of the key combinations were not made for this Kinesis keyboard. There's a lot of Control-Alt keys pressing, and in the Kinesis, I'll hold it up to the camera for people watching. And the Kinesis, these are the Control-Alt keys, so they're like completely. They're not even by each other. Now again, this Kinesis is in the Apple configuration. And I don't remember what that all entailed, and I'm not quite ready to switch it back to a Windows configuration. So I don't know if that changes anything for me. But yeah, some of these key combinations are it's like learning some extreme yoga or something. I don't know. It's been fun, but I'm sticking with it, man. I'm sticking with it right now today.
We'll get another update on that, and I'll be back at work next week, so I'll have actual PHP stories to tell again.
Yeah, I gotta get some coding done myself, so maybe I'll get some stories out there. I did release Oh, see, we didn't even talk about it. I did release a new company blog for us, blog.diegodev.com. If anybody's interested, not a whole lot there. I posted a quick article on Lazy Git, which we talked about last week. Maybe I'll post another article about something. I like to do an article a month at least, but I realize I'm quickly overcommitting to things. I was talking to John about that. I'm really overcommitting my time, so I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that yet. But yeah, so I did do a little coding, but not as much as I should be doing.
Sometime in 2021, you should show me how to maybe log into this thing or post to it or something.
That's the sweet thing about it. It's all in Git. It's all markdown. There's no login, man. It's all stacked. These are statically generated pages, dude. This is the awesomeness that is the Jigsaw Framework, which is based on which uses a lot of the Laravel blade syntax and things like that. But you write this up in Markdown, you can go to the repo. It's all in the repo. You see it. You write it up in Markdown and you do a build and it spits out HTML and you publish.
But if I write it up or write it down and mark up, it won't work, right? Now I'm confused.
Correct. Yeah.
I gotta learn something new.
That'll break the internet all around. What is it? Is it Markdown or marked up? Markup. It's Markdown. No problem at all. Barely an inconvenience. Love that guy. Did you get that link, no. Thomas? I sent you a link earlier in the week. I said if you and I were ever to review movies, this is exactly how we would talk about them.
Supposed to watch that.
He wasn't getting paid for it. He wasn't getting paid for it, so he didn't watch it.
Oh, that was the other thing that freaked me out. We've been using Mac so long, I forgot that the scroll on the mouse is backwards.
Is it?
They have it. They have a. Yeah, so on a Mac, when you scroll down, when you scroll up, the page moves up. It's called natural motion.
Right,
so there's actually a setting in
a page.
Yeah. So there's a setting in System 76. I don't know if this is across all Linux platforms, but it says use natural motion or something like that for your mouse, and I flipped that on. But that was one of those jarring moments.
I had to do that on my kid's Chromebook.
It's like, wait a minute. What? Why can't I scroll? What the hell? It's backwards. All the scrolling is back. It's upside down. So things like that, little things like that are fun to find.
Or they're just different, just to be annoying.
All right, that's it. We want to. No, it's better for you, man. Like Vim. This is the other thing. I don't touch my mouse enough to realize I'm going backwards. Okay, we need to wrap this up. We're done. We're just rambling at this point.
John agrees.
That's it. Episode 206 is
not saying anything because I don't want to stop it. We're moving forward.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tom. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
All right, I'm stopping local.
Oh yeah, good call.
Thank you for reminding me.
I finally got the barrel for my my gun.
You got the barrel for your gun, so do you have a full gun yet?
Not quite. And there's actually a small issue.
Stop sharing the OBS. I want to see if I can see you guys, because like everything keeps locking up on me. So I see you for a little bit, and I can't pull you guys down on this one. All right. There you go.
Slightly misunderstood my measurements, and I got a floating handguard that is a half an inch too long. And so my intended design is now forfeit.
What do you mean? What do you mean your intended design is what? Forfeit? Like you can't do it?
I had a muzzle device that was supposed to sit flush when it was fully screwed in. It was supposed to sit flush against the handguard. But
so now it'll stick out a little bit?
Now it doesn't even screw onto the barrel because the barrel's too far sunk into the handguard.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to know how big of a deal that
I'd
is.
have to show you. It's dumb. It's not boding well for my woodworking career either. Since like getting everything off by half an inch is not going to work out well.
That's the thing I hate about woodworking. It's like, wait, I got to take the blade into account here, or this isn't right there. It's like, come on.
Measurements are so important.
Well, that's why I'm getting.
That's why
I'm getting the chalk line snap thing, so that
it doesn't
I
help.
know. I've just started collecting tools at this point and not using them.
Yeah, that's part of being a guy.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do, my friend. Yeah, I shared with you. I think I mentioned to you, John, as well. I bought my first firearm.
Yeah, you told me.
So that's which is I've already reached out to one of our clients who's a big shooter, and we're gonna go shooting when he's back in town. I feel like I should be able to write that off on my taxes.
Have you figured out where to buy ammo yet? Because it's impossible.
I got ammo.
Here in Colorado, it's
the ammo is the easy thing to
Oh,
find.
baby.
In Colorado, it's empty shelves. Everyone believes that Joe Biden is going to make guns illegal as soon as he wins in November.
What? Why would anybody even
He kind of
think
says
that?
it on his goals page. It's
To make guns
to make a
illegal?
lot of things illegal.
I don't buy it.
It's not great.
I don't buy it. I don't believe it for a moment, but I am looking forward to getting into it and into shooting again.
Now for my muzzle device, I'm getting a little placeholder thing, and then I'm doing my Form 1 to build a suppressor. So that'll be interesting.
I thought those were illegal.
Nope.
I thought you couldn't build a suppressor.
Nope, those are very, very much legal.
Suppressors are legal, or silencers are
Suppressors
not.
and silencers are the same thing.
What's it?
The correct term is suppressor, but everyone calls them silencers.
Okay. I didn't think those were legal. I didn't. That shows you how much I know.
If you're buying one, it's $200 and like a 6-month wait right now from the government. And if you're building one, it's $200 and like a 3-week wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's
okay.
The laws around it are very bizarre.
You're doing that just to be nice to your neighbors so they don't hear while you're shooting or something.
It's the way I've built my gun out. It's very, very loud. So
guns are like that.
So throwing a suppressor on it will probably knock down about 40 decibels, which is pretty considerable.
All right.
So,
well, I'm gonna let you
before
guys go.
All right, I just want to clarify Joe Biden's stance from what I'm reading on his site. Doesn't say anything remotely close to he wants to take people's guns away.
No, not take people's guns away. He wants to make...
That's
exactly what you said.
He wants to make all online sales of munition, accessories, and guns illegal.
Because there's no background check on necessarily that.
100%. It's FFL background checks. You have to do it. You have to transfer to a gun shop that's FFL licensed, and pay the fee for them, and they have to run the background check. This is the thing, is that it's a scare tactic. Is that they...
See, I'm not seeing that. Oh, in the online sales
of accessories. So this is like scopes, magazines, like everything, anything related to guns, no longer online, only in person.
Yeah, I don't want to be this person, but I mean, yeah, is that the worst thing though? I don't.
It's a couple companies out of business fast.
Well, you don't think they can retool
to be in store sales? No.
To be distributors.
Having it as a goal, but probably wouldn't actually happen. I'm sure it's trying to limit online sales where I'm sure people are still selling guns online that aren't going through these background checks.
Legal means,
Yeah.
The thing with online sales is that there's a thing called an 80% lower or an 80% part, and that's what it's really intended to address, which is these things that you can buy without a background check and then take a drill to it for an hour and have a working gun or a working gun part. And I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. I think that's the NFA's job. The NFA screwed it up when they defined what a gun is, and that needs to be reworked. But it's ending online sales of accessories is crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about buying something too online, but
Well, California's even crazier.
I'm not that into it. California's pretty strict. I gotta tell you, California's pretty strict.
They got a lot of
All right,
rules.
I'm hanging up.
Oh, okay. You guys gonna go play your game?
I am. I don't know Thomas.
I'll see. I believe my wife is watching The Boys, which I have already watched and got in trouble for watching without her, so I won't kick her off the TV.
I've heard about that one. I need to put it on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough to watch, man. I don't think you want it on your list.
The Boys?
No.
Are you into gore?
Oh yeah, it's a little gory.
No.
It's pretty gory. I'm not a big gore guy, and it borders on what I care to watch.
It's great. Though.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
It's such a great premise.
It is a
what
good
if Superman
premise.
was
That's
as
the thing that's
narcissistic as he should be. Like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Or what if companies, ran superheroes? That's the one that gets me. Like this whole idea of, big company behind the superhero kind of persona. Yeah. I like the concept. I just can't the freaking gore, man. I can't do it. I'm not a big gory guy. So
me
yeah,
either.
there are some sensitive points in the show. I loved it.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was only wanting to check it out because Howard Stern talked about it recently. I was like, oh, I should add that to my list.
I loved it. So.
I mean, I'm watching season 2. I watched season 1. And I'm watching season 2.
I haven't watched season 2 yet.
And I don't like gore, but the interesting storyline. It got a little old at the end of season 1.
I did start watching Warrior Nun on Netflix, and I'm very surprised.
What's a Warrior Nun?
Yeah, it's a sci-fi-ish, fantasy-ish, stupid name, but actually quite good show. And
did you guys like The Umbrella Academy?
Yeah.
That's a rough one to get through.
Really?
You're almost through season 2?
Yep.
I can't. Season 2, I'm struggling with, man. I'm probably about halfway through it, and I just can't. I can't get into it.
It's the same kind of thing with the flawed superhero, and everyone hates the I heard a rumor chick because she never uses her power, and like everyone's just like, well, all of this could be solved.
She does.
Well, she uses it extraordinarily sparingly, but there's like so many situations that could just be done and resolved, and they're not, and it's just because she's terrified of it. But whatever. All right, you guys.
Well, it's because when she uses, she loses control. That's the problem.
She's one of my celebrity crushes. That actress.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, big time. All right, man. Right, you guys do your thing. I'm gonna be tapping away at my keyboard here. So, John, don't forget 10 o'clock tomorrow. Don't you bail on me, bastard.
So say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, hey, everybody, brother, I'm happy I got that package out to you. I'm looking forward. You let us know when you get it. I want to see a picture of it somewhere in Japan.
Yes.
Please. And I slipped a little extra something in there special for you from DiegoDev as well. So
#PHP Ugly on Instagram.
Enjoy.